What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. We have another List Lab sponsored by the List Forge. Phil, how you doing today, buddy?
Good to see you, and I'm ready to talk about one of my favorite armies, Genestealer Cult, and more specifically, Final Day.
Yes, you are a connoisseur. Our follower Zane did submit this list for review, so we're gonna run right through it, and then Phil is gonna, just take the wheel, guide us in the right direction, and tell us what we need in this list. So what Zane has to start with, he has a Death Leaper, an Abominant, 2 units of Hyper Adapted Raveners, a Locust, 2 Reductus Saboteurs, 2 units of 5 Acolyte Hybrids with one with auto pistols, one with hand flamers, 2 units of Gargoyles, a unit of 10 Metamorphs, 2x5 Genestealers, 2x5 Jackals, and then a unit of 2 Ridge Runners and a unit of 2 Ridge Runners and 2 units of 1 Ridge Runner, and then a
Yep.
Goliath Rock Grinder. Yeah, seems fairly interesting. Some of the characters, the only attached we have is the Locust that is going with the Metamorphs to give
Yep.
them fights first. Other than that, everything is running around here solo. He did say that the Abominant likes to ride around in the truck as kind of a delivery system, and he uses it as just kind of a annoying stand up on a 2-up unit. Yeah, what are your initial thoughts here, Phil?
Initial thought is this has a lot of the tools of a good Final Day list. Hyper Adaptive Raveners, they're sick. When they came out, the first thing I did was put them on the table. I really like them. Um, Reductus Saboteurs are probably the best character in the GSC Codex. Hands down, it's not close. Like the free
It's
grenade and the reactive bomb and the indirect make them easily the best unit that we have. Um, so yep, very good. Acolytes with auto pistols, they're nice because they can regen some CP. The flamers are good. They're just a nice little trading piece. Gargoyles are fantastic. I love pure strength Genestealers, especially into certain matchups like Eldari, like Admech, where I just need a lot of attacks and good AP. And then Ellen Jackals with their sticky is fantastic. Sorry, not their sticky, with their scout move, it's fantastic. Yeah, I really, really like them. And then Ridge Runners are just solid. The before we get into the list, there's some things about Final Day that if you've never played it and you play GSC or you're getting ready to play into it, Final Day is one of those detachments that needs a lot of synergy. The main rule of Final Day is if I have one of my units, we'll pull it up here on the list 4 app so you can kind of see. If if I have one of my units within 6 inches of a target for a Genestealer cult unit, I get +1 to hit. That's shooting, that's combat, but I have to have a Genestealer cult or I have to have a Tyranid unit within 6 inches of whatever the Genestealer cult unit is targeting. There is another ability called Psionic Paratism that allows me to regen wounds on Tyranid Synapse units from friendly GSC units, and they're as they drive by, they're just munching on these cult members, and as they die, they're giving wounds back to uh, these synapse units, which is nice. It's cute. Really, you're using it on the Raveners because not only does it regen wounds back, but it also makes them +1 to hit. So making the Raveners hit on 2s with Twin Linked is very, very nice.
Yeah, that does sound pretty spicy, and we've played a couple of games, and when the synergies line up, there isn't anything that like that Ravener unit can't bring down. Almost like it's pretty spicy.
It is. It is. It is made of tissue paper, though. It will just die. It doesn't have an invul as a 4-up base save. It's not necessarily the most durable thing, but they're 3 wounds apiece. So you gotta put realistic shooting into them. But in this day and age of 40K, there's quite a bit. Yeah. So definitely something to be prepared for. But if I'm gonna make some suggestions to Zane for running this list, I understand the desire to have a stand up, 2-up Abominant. Uh, but I will say, if you want to go down that route, uh, I would be totally okay with him accompanying a unit of Aberrants. Because I really, really like Aberrants, especially in this detachment, because of two things. there's a stratagem called Hyperferocity. We can see it right here. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, you get reroll a wound roll of 1. But if you have the Tyranids within 6, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So that means that we get full rerolls to wound if we have a Tyranid unit within 6 of that enemy unit, which is fantastic. Um, and not bad overall if we talk about running something that we really like. I strongly suggest it if we're gonna go down that route, but Zane, I'm gonna steer you in a little bit different direction because if I'm gonna make one kind of a suggestion, it's definitely not gonna be go down the aberrant route because that is not where Final Day shines. Final Day shines in some great shootings, great trading pieces, and honestly just outscoring your opponent using those gargoyles, using those hyper adapted raveners to kind of get your opponent's business. So for me personally, I would drop the Abominant and I would go down to one pure strength Genestealer squad and only 2 squads of Jackals. And I would probably get rid of the Locust as well. I understand the desire to have a 10-man Metamorphs. I'm perfectly okay with that. Um, I think that's fine. But that leaves us 290 points. And this is kind of where you have some freedom. Um, to do a few different things that I think are very valuable for this detachment. The reason we dropped the Locust is I like Metamorphs, but they're not durable enough to make me put anything significant into them. Um, I probably like splitting this up into 2 squads of 5. The Metamorphs are good. Um, with the banner, they're fine. But 2 squads of 5 for our 2 rock grinders, I like a lot more than one big squad of 10 because they can come in, they'll get the full rerolls to wound, and they're perfectly okay. And they're satisfied with that overall. I've plussed this up to 3 squads of Acolyte Hand Flamers, which I think is fantastic because they are such a solid piece overall. They're just really good. They're great trading pieces. They can clear screens off objectives. They do everything that you could ever wish for. I'm gonna do one more thing. We're gonna drop another squad of Jackals, which leaves us 115 points, and we're gonna do. I want to do a Lictor, uh, because Lone Op stealth fights first. It's very annoying. It's another Tyranid unit on an objective, which is once again very nice. And we have 55 points left. I want a Sanctus. Now this is just like a little tech piece. It's nothing crazy here. Uh, you just you just use him to turn off Overwatch for something. He goes into something first because he can't be the target of Overwatch, and you go in with another unit. But there's a lot of redundancy here, and that's for a very specific reason. I value in a list like this a lot of trading pieces, a lot of assets, being perfectly okay with like durability across the board, which this does have quite a bit of because of the rock grinders, which I really like. You could do mining lasers on there, and actually, I would prefer it in Final Day because the +1 to hit means they hit on fours, or sorry, they hit on threes instead of fours, which is solid. It just gives us more redundancy in our shooting. And there is a world where I run 3 rock grinders, and I run them all with mining lasers, and I run like Ridge Runners 2 and 2 packs of 2 instead of 1 pack of 2. All of those things are good, but if I talk about like kind of steering you in a little bit of a different direction, this is probably more in line with what I would recommend.
Yeah, that all seems solid. I think the original list definitely runnable. Obviously, you said you've had some luck with it. Maybe try some changes. See if you like it. I do agree. I personally think having just more small 5 mans in GSC is so annoying to deal with, especially with recursion. When you're just like, oh, perfect, I've killed that same squad 3 times now. Feels great. Love that for me. Yeah, no. Any other final thoughts? Just final day advice in general for players, Phil.
let's just talk about strats. One of the most important is resistance tunnels. So you can end of your opponent's fight phase, one Genestealer call or Tyranid unit from your army that is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units. You can remove it from the battlefield and place it back in strat reserves. That's Ridge Runners. That's squads of bikes. That's whatever you want. They just go back down into the tunnels. It is the best strat in this detachment because you're already hypermobile. You already do all of these things that make you fantastic. But being able to pick up some of these units and put them back in reserve is so good. I use it on the Rich Runners most often because I like picking them up and then getting a better line onto something that I want to target. But picking up rock grinders, picking up even 5-man acolyte squads that have done their job and have survived, and your opponent is just ignored, and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to pick them up and I'm going to score elsewhere with them. It's so very good. Hyper Ferocity is the other one. I've already said it before. Reroll wounds in combat. That's kind of nice on units like Hybrid Metamorphs. If you run Aberrants, it's solid there too. But don't forget, this is just Genestealer Cult units. So you could use this on the Rock Grinder's combat, and his combat is nothing to scoff at. It is very solid. 8 attacks at 10-2-2, if I remember correctly. Actually, I can go down here and double check. This is what's nice about Listforge. It's got a nice view feature when you're actually in game. Um,
Yeah.
so Drill Dozer, yep, it attacks at 10-2-2, hitting on threes, and your detachment rule, the +1 to hit, works on the rock grinders. So you put something within range of whatever they're targeting, you get +1 to hit. That means your rock grinders hitting on twos, and you can make them reroll all wounds. And at damage 2, -2, it is very nice. Especially if you hit them with a mortar ahead of time, because that additional AP does carry over into the combat phase, and it's very solid. Now, the other strats aren't nearly as good. Avenge the Star Children is nice, but you're only ever running a handful of characters. But you can use this on the units that kill the hyper adapted Raveners. You can use this on the units that kill the Death Leaper. That way you can get the +1 to hit, +1 to wound for the rest of the game against maybe like a big knight target or something like that, which is solid. Size Surge, increasing your range by 3, also good, nothing crazy there. But this last one, Divine Imperative, I probably use the least because it takes a lot to set up. You have to have a Genestealer cult unit that's already, or a Tyranid unit that's already in engagement range, and then declare charge with the GSC unit. That doesn't happen very often, but it's nice. +1 to charge and reroll charges. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But
It's a
overall,
nice in
this
the pocket for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Overall, this detachment is very good. Overall, your list, Zane, is right in line with what I would be like recommending players to play. If you want to make the most of this detachment, you have to be able to use those strats. The most important one being resistance tunnels. By far. It's not even close for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us for another List Lab powered by ListForge. Be sure to check out their app. It is free for users. So if you don't want to pay Warhammer for extra lists, come over here and do it. And it has the same functionality and is updated frequently. Go check them out and support them like they are supporting us. And yeah, last but not least, don't forget, victory isn't given. It's forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.